He saved her from the storm. Then she whispered that name. The storm did not show up on any chart. Eli Carter had checked the sky maps 3 times, then checked the ocean sensors twice, then asked the station's main system to run a fresh prediction like he was arguing with it. The answer stayed the same: moderate winds, steady waves, a normal day on Thalassa Prime. But Eli had learned something important in his first month on this planet. Normal was a word the ocean enjoyed making fun of. He stood at the wide observation window of Platform 9, watching the endless water roll under a pale, cloudy sky. The platform floated like a metal island, held steady by deep anchors and smart stabilizers. It creaked and hummed with gentle effort, as if it were a living thing that never fully relaxed. Outside, the sea was the color of dark glass. Sunlight tried to break through the clouds, but it came down weak, like a lamp behind a curtain. It should have felt calm. It should have looked calm. Instead, it felt like the planet was holding its breath. Eli rubbed his hands together, not because it was cold, but because the air had that heavy pressure that made skin feel tight. He turned away from the window and walked across the control room. The floor was clean and plain, and the walls were lined with screens. Most of them showed weather data, ocean currents, and magnetic readings. One screen showed a slow rotation of a storm system far away, nothing special. Another screen showed the anomaly. Eli had named it the blind spot, mostly because it refused to behave like anything else. It sat on the edge of several sensor grids, as if it wanted to be noticed but also wanted to hide. It was not a storm yet, not a pressure system, not a normal disturbance. It was a shape in the data, a pattern that did not match the rules. His assistant, a compact service drone with a soft voice, rolled up beside him. "Dr. Carter," it said, "incoming message from the Luminari delegation." Eli sighed. "Patch it through." The main display shifted. A tall figure appeared, pale and glowing in places, like a person made from moonlight and glass. The Luminari were not humans, but they spoke through excellent translators, and their manners were always careful. "Dr. Carter," the Luminari speaker said, "this is Envoy Saris." "We request your help." Eli blinked. "Your help? I thought the delegation didn't like coming this far out." Saris's gaze stayed steady. Her eyes were bright but not harsh. "We do not like it," she said calmly, "but we must come. There is a matter at Reef 7. Eli pulled up a map. Reef 7 was a ring of jagged rock and living coral formations, a few kilometers from Platform 9. It was an area with strange readings, which was why it had a number and not a friendly name. "What matter?" he asked. "A disturbance," Saris said. Eli almost laughed, but the way she said it stopped him. Her voice was controlled, but there was something under it, worry or maybe respect. "Disturbance like what?" he asked. Saris hesitated. "The reef is shifting. The sea is speaking in a pattern." Eli stared. "Speaking." "Our instruments are not like yours," Saris said carefully. "We hear fields and flows. The sea has a rhythm. Today it changed." Eli looked at his own data. The blind spot had thickened. The numbers were still within limits, but the shape was sharper, like a line being drawn. "Why come to me?" he asked. "Because you are human," Saris said, as if that explained everything. Eli felt his shoulders tighten. Humans had been invited into this region because they were curious and stubborn, and because the larger galactic community sometimes needed a species that would touch things others preferred to avoid. Eli did not love that reputation, but he could not deny it existed. "I can send a drone," Eli offered. "You don't need to risk yourself on a reef." Saris's expression barely changed, but her glow dimmed a little. "We already sent drones," she said. "They returned. They recorded nothing useful. We went ourselves. Our skiff's guidance failed. It left us at the reef and refused to restart." Eli's mouth went dry. "Left you? How many of you?" "Only me," Saris said. "I did not bring others." Eli stared at the screen. "You're out there right now?" Saris did not answer with words. She simply looked at him. The ocean behind her on the feed seemed too close, too loud, too alive. Eli turned toward the nearest technician station. "Open external channel to Reef 7, he ordered the drone, "and bring up visual." The screen split. The live image came through in shaky frames. The camera was mounted somewhere low, perhaps on Saris's skiff or her suit. The view showed jagged coral structures rising out of churning water. The sky above was darker than it should have been, dark enough that Eli's stomach sank. The clouds were folding in on themselves, moving in slow spirals like ink in water. Eli's weather screen still insisted the day was moderate. It was lying. "Saris," Eli said, forcing his voice to stay even. Get to higher ground. Stay away from the water line. I am already on the highest point, she said, and the camera tilted to show a narrow ridge of coral-like stone. The waves surged below, reaching for it. Eli's hands clenched. Platform 9 is sending a rescue drone. It will not land, Sarah said. The air moves strangely. The water moves strangely, Eli swallowed. Then we'll send the skiff, we'll pull you out. A pause, Sarah's eyes seemed to sharpen. You will come yourself. Eli did not think about it long enough to talk himself out of it. Yes, he said. He cut the call and moved fast. The control room lights felt brighter, the air thicker. He grabbed his jacket, then changed his mind and grabbed a weather suit instead. He stepped into the gear bay where a small rescue skiff waited on a rail system. It was built for short trips, powered by silent electric thrusters and guided by a mix of AI and manual controls. He sat down and strapped in. The drone rolled up behind him. Dr. Carter, it said, platform safety protocols advise against launch. Unregistered storm activity detected. Eli tightened the last strap. And if we don't launch? The drone paused, as if it hated answering. Probability of envoy harm increases. Eli stared at the closed hatch in front of him. Then we launch. The bay doors opened. Wind hit the skiff like a hard hand. Rain had started without warning, not heavy yet, but sharp. Eli guided the skiff forward, and the rail released him into open air. The platform fell behind quickly, a bright shape against darkening sky. The water below was no longer smooth. Waves rose and fell in uneven ways like something waking up and stretching. Eli set the skiff's guidance toward Reef 7. The AI pathfinder flickered, then stabilized. For a moment it seemed fine. Then the compass spun. Eli cursed under his breath and switched to manual. Come on, he muttered, gripping the controls. It's just wind, it's just water. But it was. The storm was not moving like normal weather. It was sliding across the surface of the ocean as if it were following lines that only it could see. A cold pressure pressed down on Eli's chest. The air smelled like salt and something metallic, like the inside of a battery. He kept his eyes forward. Reef 7 was ahead, a darker shape breaking the sea surface. The waves around the reef were worse. They didn't just crash, they curved. They rose in shapes that looked planned. Eli's skiff rocked and the stabilizers fought to keep it level. Manual control steady, the skiff system said in a calm voice that did not match reality. Warning, unpredictable gust patterns. Eli glanced at the sky. The clouds were now a thick, swirling blanket. Lightning did not strike, but the light kept changing as if something far away was flashing behind the clouds. His radio crackled. Dr. Carter, Sarah's voice came through, thin and distorted. You should turn back. Eli gritted his teeth. Not happening. The storm is aware, Sarah said, and for the first time her voice sounded unsure. Eli could not explain why, but that word made his skin prickle. Aware of what? Of you, Sarah said. Eli's throat tightened. That's not possible. Sarah did not argue. It does not like interference, she said. We tried to leave, it refused. Eli guided the skiff closer. The reef rose ahead like broken teeth. He could see a small silver shape on the highest ridge. A skiff, half-wedged between coral formations, and a figure standing beside it. Saris. She was tall and slender, her suit clinging close, her glow dim in the rain. She stood with calm posture, but her hands were braced on a rock, and even from this distance Eli could sense she was holding herself steady against the wind. A wave surged and slammed against the reef. Water sprayed high. Eli pushed the skiff forward, carefully threading between two coral spires. The skiff's sensors flickered. The air around the reef seemed thick, like it was full of invisible threads. He reached a point close enough that he could deploy the rescue line. He hit the release. The skiff shot a magnetic tether toward the ridge. The tether flew, then curved, not because of wind. It curved like it had changed its mind. It struck the rock beside Saris instead of the anchor point Eli had targeted. Eli stared. What the? Another wave rose, larger than the last, as if the ocean had noticed the tether and disliked it. Saris looked toward Eli, her eyes bright in the dark. It is reacting, she said over the radio. Eli's heart hammered. Then we do this the hard way. He lowered the skiff as close as he dared. The thrusters whined. The skiff shuddered as the air pushed against it from different directions, like invisible hands trying to twist it. Eli opened the hatch. Cold rain slapped his face. Wind shoved him sideways. The reef was only a few meters away, but the gap might as well have been a canyon. The water below churned like boiling glass. He clipped the safety line to his suit and stepped onto the skiff's edge. His boots slipped slightly and he steadied himself. Saris watched him. "Human," she said softly. "Eli," he corrected, even now, her head tilted as if she was trying to place the sound. "Eli," she repeated. He took a breath, then jumped. For a moment the air felt wrong, like he was moving through thick water instead of wind. He hit the reef hard, knees bending, hands slapping wet stone. The surface was slick, but he grabbed a ridge and held. He pulled himself up inch by inch until he was on solid footing. Then he moved toward Saris. Up close he could see the fine patterning on her suit, shimmering lines that changed in the rain. He could see that her hands trembled slightly, not from fear exactly, but from strain. "You're hurt?" Eli asked. Saris shook her head. "No injury, only pressure." Eli nodded. He felt it too, a weight in the air, a pull in the water. He moved toward her skiff. It looked intact, but the control panel was dark. "Your skiff died?" he asked. "It sleeps," Saris said. "It refused to wake." Eli frowned. Machines did not refuse. They failed or they broke. They did not refuse. A gust slammed into them. Saris's glow flickered. Eli stepped closer, putting his body between her and the wind without thinking. It was a simple human instinct. Shield someone smaller, someone weaker, someone in danger. Except Saris was not smaller. She was taller than him, and she might have been just as strong. Still, the instinct remained. The storm shifted. Eli felt it like a change in the room temperature, even though there was no room. The wind angled around him. The rain's sting softened for half a second. Saris's eyes widened slightly. "It noticed," she whispered. Eli looked around, confused. The reef creaked. Water surged below. The clouds overhead swirled slower, as if pausing to watch. Eli forced himself to focus. "We leave now," he said, raising his voice over the wind. He activated his suit's magnetic grip and extended his hand. "Take the tether, we go back to my skiff." Saris did not take his hand immediately. She looked at him as if she was seeing him for the first time. "You crossed," she said, even when it resisted. "I didn't come out here to talk about the weather," Eli snapped, but his voice was not angry. It was tight with stress. "Come on." Saris finally reached out. Her hand was warm through the suit, warmer than a human's would be. Eli locked her tether clip to his line. The moment their lines connected, the pressure in the air shifted again. The wind dropped for one heartbeat. The rain softened. Then the sea surged like it was offended. A wave rose, tall enough that it blocked the horizon. It wasn't crashing yet. It was standing up, lifting, growing like a wall. Eli's stomach flipped. He didn't see foam, didn't see the usual wild chaos of a wave. This was too smooth, too shaped. Saris's voice came through low. "It is deciding," she said. Eli tightened his grip on the rock. "Deciding what?" Saris's glow dimmed further. "Whether to let you take me," she said. Eli stared at the wall of water. His mind raced. If the storm was reacting to choices, then maybe he had to make a clearer one. Not with tools, not with machines, not with force, with intent. He did not fully understand the thought, but it rose inside him like a steady flame. He turned toward the wave and spoke out loud like an idiot talking to the sky. "I'm not here to steal anything," he said. "She's not your enemy. Neither am I. I'm just helping." The wind froze for half a second, and Eli felt something like a tension, heavy and vast, pressing against his words. The wave hesitated. Then it lowered. Not slowly, not gently, but with a sharp, sudden drop as if it had chosen to stop trying. Water crashed down into chaos again, but it was normal chaos now, not shaped. Eli blinked, shocked. Saris stared at him, and her eyes glowed brighter. "You spoke," she said, "and it listened." Eli swallowed. "Let's not test that again." He guided her toward the edge of the reef where his skiff hovered, fighting the wind. The skiff's thrusters strained, but it held position. Eli reached out and grabbed the skiff's rail, then helped Saris step across. When Saris landed on the skiff, the platform's safety line tightened, keeping them both connected. Eli pulled himself in after her, soaked and shaking. The hatch closed behind them and the wind noise dulled. Inside, everything sounded too quiet, like the skiff was holding its own breath now. Eli didn't sit. He kept his hands on the controls, keeping manual guidance. "Hold on," he said. Saris stood near the back of the cabin, steadying herself with one hand on the wall. Her glow slowly returned, soft and even. The skiff began to move away from the reef. For a moment, the storm seemed to allow it. The air cleared a little. The sensor screens stopped flickering. Then a new warning flashed, unregistered field shift. Eli cursed. "What now?" The skiff system spoke calmly. "Navigation interference increasing." Eli kept pushing forward. Platform 9 was visible now, a bright island in the darkness. The station had raised its shield grid, a faint shimmer around it. It looked like safety. A low vibration ran through the skiff's frame. It felt like the ocean itself humming. Saris's voice was quiet behind him. "Dr. Carter." Eli did not look away from the controls. "Yeah, you did not understand what you did," Saris said. Eli laughed once, short and dry. "You're right about that." Saris stepped closer, her footsteps soft. "You chose someone you did not know," she said. "You crossed the storm's boundary. You spoke into the pressure and meant what you said." Eli forced the skiff through another sudden gust. "I meant it because it's true. People help people. That's not magic." Saris's glow pulsed as if her body was reacting to something deeper than emotion. "For many of us," she said, "help is always weighed, always traded, always measured." Eli glanced at her finally. Her expression was hard to read, but her eyes were clear. "That sounds exhausting," he said. "It is," Saris replied, then her voice dropped. "That is why the name matters." Eli's skin prickled. "What name?" Saris looked past him toward the front window. Outside, the storm clouds twisted again, as if offended by the conversation. The wind pressed against the skiff, but it held course. Saris spoke like she was repeating something ancient, something that scared her even to say. "There are stories," she said. "Old enough that most species no longer admit they remember. Stories of those who could walk into a storm and return with someone the storm had claimed." Eli tightened his grip on the controls. "I didn't return yet." Saris's eyes fixed on him. "You will," she said, and it sounded less like hope and more like certainty. The skiff crossed into the platform's shield boundary, and the air immediately changed. The pressure eased. The rain softened. The wind lost its sharp edge. Eli let out a breath he didn't realize he had been holding. The skiff slid into the bay, and the doors closed behind it. Warm lights filled the space. The platform's interior air was dry and steady, as if the outside chaos was just a dream. Eli unstrapped and stood up, legs a little weak. He opened the hatch and helped Saris step out into the bay. Technicians ran toward them, speaking fast, asking questions. The drone assistant rolled up, its voice urgent. Eli waved them back. "Give her space," he said. "She needs a quiet room and warm air." Saris looked around the bay, her glow returning to full strength. The way she stood was calmer now, but her eyes still carried that faraway look, like she was hearing something the others could not. Eli guided her toward the corridor. As they walked, the platform rumbled softly beneath their feet, stabilizers adjusting. Outside, the storm pressed against the shields like a curious animal. Saris slowed near the doorway to the medical room. She turned her head toward Eli, and for a second her expression softened. "You saved me," she said. Eli shrugged, trying to make it ordinary. "It was the right thing." Saris's gaze deepened, as if she was looking through the simple words to the thing under them. Then she leaned closer, lowering her voice so only he could hear. She whispered a single word. "Stormbearer." Eli felt the word hit him like a sudden change in gravity. The lights overhead flickered once. Somewhere deep in the platform, an alarm tone chirped and stopped, like a system that had noticed something and then decided not to mention it. Outside, the storm pressed against the shields again. The word stayed in Eli's mind long after Saris was taken into the medical room. Stormbearer, it did not sound like a name. It sounded like a weight. Eli stood in the corridor while technicians and med staff moved around him, their voices low and fast. The platform was busy now. Alerts still blinked on wall panels. Outside, the storm circled the station like a curious shadow, but it no longer struck the shields with force. It drifted, slow and watchful. Eli rubbed his face and let out a long breath. His clothes were dry now, but he still felt cold inside, like the storm had left a mark that water and wind could not explain. The drone assistant rolled up beside him. "Dr. Carter," it said, "Station Command requests your presence in the main briefing room." Eli nodded. "I figured they would." As he walked, he noticed something strange. The platform's usual hum felt different, not louder, not quieter, just smoother, like a machine running better than it should. He passed a window and glanced out. The storm clouds were still there, thick and dark, but they moved in wide, slow circles now, not sharp, twisting patterns. The sea below was restless but not wild. It looked like the storm was waiting. The briefing room was full when Eli arrived. Humans, Luminari, and several other species stood or sat around the wide central table. Holographic displays floated in the air, showing whether maps, energy readings, and strange, layered data that made Eli's head hurt just by looking at it. Saris was there too. She stood near the far side of the room, her glow steady and calm. She looked unharmed but different, more focused. When her eyes met Eli's, she gave a small, respectful nod. Eli took a seat. A human station commander, a tall woman with gray hair and sharp eyes, cleared her throat. "Let's get to it," she said. "Dr. Carter, you went into an unregistered storm system, ignored safety protocol, and brought back a Luminari envoy. I should be very upset." Eli raised an eyebrow. "But you're not." "I am," she said. "I'm also very curious, because since you came back, our systems have been acting like they just got a full tune-up. Power flow is smoother. Shield efficiency is up by 3%. Weather interference around the station has dropped." She tapped the table and a new display appeared. It showed the storm viewed from above. "And this," she said, "is not how storms behave." A Luminari elder stepped forward. His glow was softer and deeper in color than Saris', like warm gold instead of pale white. "The storm is no longer a simple pattern," he said. "It is responding." Eli frowned. "Responding to what?" The elder looked at Saris. Saris stepped forward. The room grew quiet. Even the machines seemed to lower their hum. She looked at Eli. "Responding to you," she said. Eli leaned back in his chair. "That doesn't make sense." "It does," the elder said, "but not in the way humans usually think." The elder gestured and a slow-moving image filled the air. It showed stars, galaxies, and lines of light that connected them like threads. "The universe is not silent," he said. "It is full of movement, pressure, and flow. Most species learn how to travel through it. A few learn how to listen to it." Eli crossed his arms. "And you're saying I'm suddenly a good listener?" Saris's glow brightened slightly. "You always were," she said. "You simply did not know it mattered." The commander frowned. "Let's keep this practical," she said. "We need to know what changed." A human scientist spoke up. "The storm's energy signature shifted the moment Dr. Carter made physical contact with the envoy on the reef. We replayed the sensor data. There's a clear point where the field pattern reorganized." Eli remembered the wave, the way it had paused when he spoke. He felt a small chill. "So what does that mean?" the commander asked. The Luminari elder took a slow breath. "It means the storm recognized intention." The room went silent. Eli shook his head. "That's not how physics works. It is how old physics works," the elder replied gently. Saris turned toward the window where the storm was still visible beyond the shields. "Long ago," she said, "there were beings who could walk into these flows and not be lost. They did not control, they did not command, they responded." Eli looked at her. "You keep talking like this is a story." "It is," Saris said, "but stories are how we remember things we are afraid to lose." The commander folded her hands. "Are you saying, Doctor Carter is one of these beings?" Saris shook her head. "No, he is human." Eli snorted. "Thank you," Saris continued. "But the title I spoke is not a species, it is a role." Eli felt every eye in the room turn toward him. He shifted in his seat. "I didn't sign up for a role." The elder smiled softly. "Few ever do." The meeting continued, but Eli felt like he was underwater. Words washed over him, data, theories, cautious plans. The Luminari wanted to study the storm more closely. The humans wanted to secure the station. Other species wanted to send observers. Everyone wanted something. No one seemed to ask what Eli wanted. After the meeting ended, Eli left quickly. He needed air, or at least a window. He walked to one of the long observation corridors. The floor-to-ceiling glass showed the sea and sky still dark, still restless. The storm had not gone away. It had simply changed its mood. Eli leaned against the glass. "This is insane," he muttered. "You say that," Saris's voice said behind him, "but you are not afraid." Eli turned. Saris stood a few steps away, her hands folded in front of her. Her glow reflected faintly in the glass. "I am afraid," Eli said. "I'm just better at ignoring it." Saris stepped closer. "That is another human skill," she said. They stood in silence for a moment, watching the clouds move. "You didn't answer me back there," Eli said. "What exactly is a stormbearer?" Saris considered the question. "It is someone who steps between what is breaking and what is trying to survive," she said slowly. "Someone who feels the pressure of the universe and chooses not to step away." Eli frowned. "That sounds like a fancy way of saying person who gets into trouble." Saris's glow pulsed in what might have been amusement. "Yes," she said, "it does." Eli rubbed the back of his neck. "Look, I didn't do anything special. I saw someone stuck. I went to help, that's it." Saris nodded. That is always how it starts. Eli groaned. That's not comforting. They watched the storm again. Eli noticed something new. The clouds were not random anymore. They moved in wide, slow circles around the platform like water around a rock. It's really watching, isn't it? He said. Saris tilted her head. It is aware of you now, she said, but awareness is not interest, not yet. Great, Eli said. Something to look forward to. An alert chimed softly from Saris's wrist device. She glanced at it and her glow dimmed slightly. The delegation is requesting my return, she said. Eli felt a strange, unexpected tug in his chest. You're leaving. Not far, Saris said. Our vessel will remain in orbit. But they are concerned. About you, Eli asked. About you, Saris corrected. Eli sighed. Figures. They walked together down the corridor. The platform's lights cast long shadows on the floor. The hum of the station followed them like a steady heartbeat. Why me? Eli asked suddenly. Out of everyone, out of all the people who have ever helped someone in a storm, why would this universe thing notice me? Saris stopped walking. She turned to face him fully. Because you did not treat the storm as an obstacle, she said. You treated it as part of the moment. Eli frowned. I treated it like a problem. You treated it like a presence, Saris corrected. You spoke to it not with words alone, with intention. Eli looked away. I was just trying to keep us alive, Saris nodded. Yes, she said. That is the intention that matters. They reached the docking corridor that led to the Luminari transport craft. The soft glow of alien lights spilled out onto the platform floor. Saris paused at the entrance. There is something you should know, she said. Eli raised an eyebrow. I have a feeling I'm about to hear something I don't like. Saris's glow softened. Stormbearers do not seek storms, she said. Storms seek them. Eli stared at her. That's definitely something I don't like. Saris's eyes were kind. It is also something you are very good at handling. Before Eli could reply, a tremor ran through the platform. Not strong, not dangerous, just enough to be noticed. Alarms did not sound. Systems did not panic. But the glass in the corridor rippled like water for a brief second. Eli's heart jumped. Tell me that's normal. Saris looked past him toward the observation windows. Her glow brightened. No, she said softly, that is not normal. They both turned and ran. The main observation deck was filling with people. Scientists, technicians, and crew stood near the glass, staring out. The storm had changed again. A wide, clear space had opened in the center of the cloud mass, directly above the platform. The clouds circled it in a slow, perfect ring. The sea below mirrored the pattern, waves rolling outward from a comm center. It looked like an eye. Eli swallowed. Okay, he said, now it's interested. The commander pushed through the crowd. Report, she snapped. A technician answered, voice tight. Energy readings are off the charts but stable. The field pattern is centered on the station. Specifically, he hesitated and glanced at Eli. Specifically what? The commander demanded. Specifically on Dr. Carter's biometric signature. Everyone looked at Eli. He raised both hands. I didn't do anything this time. Sarah stepped forward. It is not reacting to what he does, she said. It is reacting to what he is. Eli stared at the storm's open center. The calm space in the sky felt heavy, like a held breath. What does it want? He asked. Sarah shook her head. That is the wrong question. Then what's the right one? She looked at him. What is it offering? The calm center of the storm pulsed, not light, not sound, just a shift like the air itself was changing its mind. Eli felt it in his chest, a gentle pull, like the feeling of standing near a deep body of water and knowing you could step in. He took one step forward without thinking. The commander grabbed his arm. Don't, she said sharply. Eli stopped. His heart was pounding, but not from fear, from something closer to curiosity. Saris's voice was quiet. It is inviting you to listen, she said. Eli looked at the storm. He thought about the reef, the wave, the moment he had spoken without knowing why. He thought about how the universe suddenly felt less like a machine and more like a place full of voices. I'm not ready for this, he said. Saris nodded. No one ever is. The storm's calm center slowly closed. The clouds drifted back together. The sea returned to its restless, uneven waves. The platform let out a long, mechanical sigh as systems returned to normal readings. People began to talk again, their voices rising in nervous energy. Eli leaned against the glass, legs weak. Sarah stood beside him. It knows you now, she said. Eli let out a slow breath. Then it's going to be very disappointed, he said, because I still don't know what I'm doing. Saris's glow warmed. Neither does the universe, she replied. It simply keeps trying. Outside, far beyond the platform's shields, the storm did not leave. It waited. The storm did not stay near the platform forever. 2 days passed, then 3. The clouds slowly drifted away from Thalassa Prime, breaking apart into long, thin lines that faded into the pale sky. The sea calmed. The sensors returned to normal. The station crew began to relax, but Eli did not. He could feel something he could not explain, not a sound, not a signal, just a quiet pull in the back of his thoughts, like a memory he had not lived yet. He spent most of his time in the observation corridor, watching the water and the stars. The drone assistant followed him like a patient shadow. "Dr. Carter," it said one afternoon, "you have skipped 3 scheduled rest cycles." Eli leaned against the glass. "I'm not tired." The drone paused. "Your heart rate and stress indicators disagree." Eli smiled weakly. "They're allowed to have opinions." Far above the planet, a thin line of light crossed the sky. It was a hyperspace trail left behind by a ship traveling between systems. Eli usually found it comforting. It reminded him that the universe was big, busy, and full of people going places. This time it made his chest feel tight. A soft chime echoed in the corridor. Saris approached, her steps quiet. Her glow was gentle, steady like a candle in still air. "You watch the sky like it might answer you," she said. Eli shrugged. "It already started that." Saris stood beside him. "The delegation has received new information," she said. Eli turned. "Good or bad?" "Both," Saris replied. She raised her wrist device and a small projection appeared in the air between them. It showed a map of nearby star systems. One region was dark, marked with broken lines and fading signals. "A hyperspace flow is collapsing," Saris said. "Slowly but steadily," Eli frowned. "That happens sometimes, doesn't it?" "Yes," Saris said, "but not like this. This one is spreading." The image zoomed in. Several trade routes and communication paths flickered and went dark. "If it continues," she said, "entire systems will be cut off. No travel, no signals, no help." Eli's stomach sank. "How many people?" Saris hesitated. "Millions, across many worlds." Eli ran a hand through his hair. "What are they doing about it?" "They are preparing to move away from the region," Saris said. "Evacuations, withdrawals, defensive plans." Eli stared at the map. "So they're running." "They are surviving," Saris corrected. Eli looked back at the dark patch. The pull in his chest grew stronger. "And you?" he asked. Saris met his eyes. "I came to you." Eli laughed, but it came out rough. "That's a bad idea." Saris's glow brightened slightly. "You stepped into a storm and spoke to it," she said. "This is not so different." Eli shook his head. "This isn't weather. This is space tearing itself apart." Saris nodded. "Yes." Eli pushed off the glass and started pacing. "Even if I wanted to help, what would I do? I'm a scientist, not some kind of cosmic mechanic." Saris followed him with her eyes. "You listen," she said simply. Eli stopped walking. "Every species studies the universe like a machine," Saris continued. "You treat it like a place, like something that can be spoken to." Eli looked at the floor. "I don't know if that's true, I just don't like giving up." Saris's voice softened. "Neither does the universe." The station commander called a meeting that evening. The room filled with tension and quiet urgency. Displays showed the growing dark region in hyperspace. Messages from nearby systems played in the background, asking for guidance, offering cooperation, or simply expressing fear. A human engineer spoke first. "We can't fix a collapse like this. We don't have the tools." A luminary scientist replied, "We don't have the understanding." The commander looked at Eli. "You have the attention of something that does," she said. Eli shifted in his seat. "That doesn't mean it wants to help," Saris stood. "It might," she said, "if we ask in the right way." Eli frowned. "And what is the right way?" Saris looked around the room. "Together." The plan that formed was not elegant, it was not powerful, it was not impressive, it was human. They built a listening station instead of a weapon. A simple platform in deep space, near the edge of the collapsing region. It carried sensors, communication arrays, and a central chamber where Eli could sit, surrounded by machines that translated invisible flows into sound, light, and movement. It was not meant to control anything. It was meant to notice. The journey took days. Eli traveled with a small team, human engineers, luminary researchers, and observers from 2 other species. The ship moved through hyperspace carefully, avoiding the dark region like a bruise in reality. When they arrived, space felt wrong. Stars near the collapse flickered, their light stretching and bending. The silence felt heavy, like being underwater. The listening station was deployed, unfolding like a metal flower. Lights came on. Systems hummed. Eli entered the central chamber. It was a simple room, a chair in the middle, screens and soft lights around the walls. The machines translated energy patterns into slow tones, gentle vibrations in the floor, and faint colors that drifted across the air. At first, there was nothing, just quiet. Then the floor began to hum, low, deep, like a distant ocean. Eli closed his eyes. He thought about the reef, the wave. The moment the storm had paused, he didn't try to speak. He didn't try to command, he just paid attention. The hum changed. It rose and fell like breathing. Colors appeared in the air, slow, shifting blues and whites. Eli felt the pull again, stronger now, not dragging, not forcing, inviting. Outside the chamber, the team watched the readings climb. Energy patterns stabilized just slightly. Sarah stood near the window, her glow bright and focused. "He is listening," she said. Inside, Eli opened his eyes. He didn't see a face. He didn't hear a voice, but he felt something like presence. He spoke softly, not sure why he chose the words he did. "I don't know how to fix this," he said, "but I don't want anyone to be alone out here." The hum deepened. The dark region in space slowed, not stopped, but slowed. The engineers stared at their screens. "The collapse rate just dropped by 15%, one said. Another whispered, "That's not possible." Eli stayed in the chair for hours. He didn't talk much. He didn't think much. He just stayed. The collapse did not vanish, but it stopped growing. Messages came in from nearby systems. Travel lanes stabilized. Signals cleared. People could reach each other again. When Eli finally stood, his legs were weak. Saris met him at the chamber door. "You did it," she said. Eli shook his head. "We did," he replied. News spread fast. Some worlds called him a miracle, others called him dangerous. Eli didn't like either. On the return trip, he sat in the ship's small observation room, watching stars slide past. Saris joined him. "You changed many lives today," she said. Eli sighed. "I just didn't want things to fall apart." Saris looked at him. "That is why storms listen to you," she said. Eli smiled tiredly. "I really wish they wouldn't." Saris's glow pulsed warmly. "You don't get to choose what the universe notices," she said. "Only what you do when it does." Far behind them, the dark region in space remained. But now it was quiet. Eli did not enjoy being famous. The moment the ship returned to Thalassa Prime, the station felt different. Not louder, not brighter, just heavier. Every hallway carried whispers. Every screen showed his face, his name, or a blurred image of him sitting in the listening chamber, surrounded by soft light and floating colors. Some called him a bridge. Some called him a warning. Eli called it all a headache. He walked through the main corridor with his hands in his pockets, trying to look like a normal scientist going to check normal weather data. People stepped aside when they saw him, not out of fear exactly, but out of uncertainty. Like they weren't sure what rules applied to him anymore. Saris noticed. She walked beside him, her glow steady and calm, like a quiet reminder that not everything had changed. "They are trying to understand you," she said. Eli snorted. "Good luck with that." "I barely understand me." They reached the observation deck. The sea below was calm, reflecting the pale sky like a mirror. The storm was gone now, far beyond the horizon. Eli leaned against the glass. "I just wanted to help people talk to each other again," he said. "Now everyone's acting like I opened some kind of door." Saris nodded. "You did," she said, "but you did not open it alone." Behind them, the door slid open. The station commander entered, followed by two representatives from different species. One moved with slow, careful steps. The other floated slightly above the floor, supported by a soft field of light. "Dr. Carter," the commander said, "we need to talk." Eli sighed. "I was afraid you'd say that." They moved into a smaller meeting room away from the windows. The air felt tighter there, like secrets preferred closed spaces. The floating representative spoke first. "Your actions near the collapse changed trade routes, communication systems, and political plans across 12 systems." Eli blinked. "I didn't touch any of that." "But it changed," the representative said. "Because of you." The slow-moving one added, "Some worlds now want access to you, others want protection from you." Eli looked at Saris. "I really don't like where this is going." Saris met his gaze. "Neither do I." The commander folded her hands. "That's why we're proposing something different," she said. A display lit up on the wall. It showed a network of worlds connected by lines of light. At the center was a symbol, simple and plain. "The Galactic Accord of Response," the commander said. A shared effort, multi-species teams trained to listen, observe, and respond to large-scale disturbances, natural, artificial, or whatever this is. Eli frowned. Why show me this? Because they want you to lead it, the commander said. The room went very quiet. Eli stared at the display. No, he said immediately. The commander raised an eyebrow. That was fast. I'm not a leader, Eli said. I'm a scientist who got lucky and didn't drown. Sarah stepped forward. You are a reminder, she said. That listening matters. Eli shook his head. That's a terrible reason to put someone in charge. The floating representative drifted closer. We are not asking you to command, it said. We are asking you to stand with us. Eli looked at the network on the screen. And if I say no? Then this will still happen, the commander said, but without the one person the universe seems willing to answer. Eli closed his eyes. He thought about the listening chamber, the hum, the calm. The feeling of not being alone in something bigger. I don't want to be a symbol, he said quietly. Sarah's voice was gentle. Then don't be one, she said. Be a person, let others stand beside you. That night, Eli couldn't sleep. He walked the quiet halls of the platform, lights dimmed low. The sea outside was dark and smooth, stars reflected like scattered coins. He stopped in front of the small room where the listening equipment was stored. The door slid open, recognizing him. Inside, the machines were silent. Eli sat in the chair anyway. I don't know what I'm doing, he said softly to the empty room, and I don't know what you expect from me. The machines did not respond, but the air felt warm, not physically, just present. Eli let out a slow breath. If I do this, he said, it won't be alone. I won't be the only one standing in front of things that scare everyone else. The room stayed quiet. Somewhere deep in the station, a system chimed softly and stopped. The next day, Eli agreed. The accord did not begin with speeches or ceremonies. It began with training rooms, shared meals, and long conversations that went nowhere and then suddenly went somewhere important. Humans taught problem-solving. Luminari taught awareness. Other species taught patience, memory, and how to notice changes that most beings ignored. Eli was not at the front of the room. He sat in the circle like everyone else. Saris often sat beside him. Teams formed, small ones, mixed ones. People who would go together when something strange happened in the universe and stand there, not to fix it right away, but to understand it. News spread, but this time the stories changed. They stopped calling Eli a miracle. They started calling the accord a promise. Not everyone liked it. Some groups demanded control. Some wanted weapons instead of listeners. Some tried to pull Eli aside, offer him power, protection, influence. He said no, every time. One evening after a long day of training, Eli and Sarah stood on a quiet balcony overlooking the sea. You are making enemies, Sarah said. Eli shrugged. I probably already had some. Sarah looked at him. You are also making something else. Eli raised an eyebrow. What's that? Time, she said, for people to think instead of panic. Eli smiled faintly. That sounds like the nicest thing anyone said about me. A soft vibration passed through the platform, not an alarm, just a signal. Saris checked her device. A minor disturbance, she said. Far away, a small hyperspace ripple. Eli nodded. Send a team. Saris hesitated. You are not going, Eli shook his head. They don't need me for every wave, he said. That's the point. The team left. The ripple faded, days passed, then weeks. The universe did not stop being strange, but it stopped being alone in its strangeness. One night, Eli stood in the listening chamber again just to sit. He liked the quiet there, the way it felt like a space between thoughts. Saris joined him. You look tired, she said. Eli smiled. I think the universe finally learned how I feel. Saris's glow softened. You are changing it, she said. Eli shook his head. It's changing me. They sat in silence. The hum began low and gentle, not a call, not an alarm, a greeting. Eli closed his eyes. For the first time, he did not feel the pull alone. He felt many teams, worlds, voices. The bridge was no longer one person. It was a path. The sea was calm the day the first shared vessel launched. On Thalassa Prime, the sky was wide and pale blue, with only thin clouds drifting like soft brushstrokes. The platform's observation deck was full of people from many worlds, standing shoulder to shoulder. Some were tall and glowing, some short and solid, some floating gently in soft fields of light. They all faced the same direction. The water below reflected the sky so clearly that it was hard to tell where one ended and the other began. At the center of the deck stood a long, smooth ship. It was not large, it was not powerful, it was simple. built by many hands, shaped by many ideas. Its hull carried symbols from different species, painted and carved and etched into the surface like a story written in many languages. Eli stood near the front, his hands resting on the rail. He did not feel like a leader. He felt like someone watching a moment that was bigger than him. Sarah stood beside him, her glow steady and warm. "They are ready," she said. Eli nodded. "So am I," he replied, even though he wasn't sure it was true. A soft tone echoed across the deck. The ship's systems came alive, lights glowing along its sides. The water beneath it began to ripple as gentle lift fields activated. The crowd grew quiet. Eli felt the hum. It was not loud, it was not strong, it was familiar. He closed his eyes for a second and breathed in the clean, salty air. The ship rose slowly, smoothly, like it was being carried by the sky instead of pushed by machines. It hovered above the water, then angled upward, pointing toward the open horizon and the stars beyond. When it moved, it did not roar, it whispered. The vessel slipped into the sky, leaving behind only fading ripples on the sea and a quiet, shared breath from everyone watching. Eli opened his eyes. Saris was looking at him, not at the sky. "You feel it too," she said. Eli nodded. "It feels like a conversation," he said. "Not an answer, not a question, just something continuing." Saris's glow pulsed gently. "That is what the universe is," she said. "A long conversation that forgets itself sometimes." They walked away from the deck, leaving the others to talk and celebrate and plan. Eli liked the quieter halls now. They reminded him of who he had been before everything changed. They passed the listening chamber. Eli stopped. Saris noticed. "You want to sit," she said. Eli smiled. "Yeah, just for a minute." The door opened and they stepped inside. The room was the same as always, the chair in the center, the soft lights, the silent machines waiting to translate what could not be seen. Eli sat down. Sarah stood near the wall, watching. At first, there was nothing. Then the hum began. It felt different now. Wider, like many small sounds woven into one. Eli did not close his eyes this time. He looked at the drifting colors in the air, slow and gentle. He felt the floor's soft vibration under his boots. He spoke quietly. "We're still here," he said. "We're still listening." The hum deepened just a little. Saris felt it too. Her glow brightened. Eli stood up slowly. "I don't think it needs me to sit here anymore," he said. Saris tilted her head. "No," she said. "It needs you to walk out there." Eli laughed softly. "I was afraid you'd say that." They left the chamber and walked toward the platform's exit hall where small personal skiffs waited. Eli had not taken one in a long time. He had been busy sending others out. Sarah stopped near the door. "Where will you go?" she asked. Eli thought for a moment. "There's a quiet world a few systems away," he said. "Mostly ocean, gentle weather, people who like to study currents and stars. They asked for help setting up a small station." Saris's glow softened. "That sounds like you." Eli shrugged. "I think I miss normal." Saris looked at him. "There is no normal anymore," she said, "but there is still simple." They stood in silence for a moment. "You could come," Eli said, surprising himself. Saris's eyes widened slightly. "I have duties," she said. "So do I," Eli replied, "but I'm learning how to carry them without standing in one place." Saris considered this. Her glow shifted, thoughtful. "I will visit," she said finally. "Often," Eli smiled. "I'll hold you to that." Eli's skiff lifted off gently, leaving the platform behind. Thalassa Prime's sea stretched out beneath him, endless and calm. As he flew, he felt the hum again, not pulling, not pushing, just there. The small station on the quiet world was simple. A few buildings, a landing pad, a wide view of the sky and water. The people there welcomed him without ceremony. They did not call him Stormbearer, they called him Eli. He liked that. Days passed, then weeks. Eli helped set up weather sensors, ocean scanners, and communication arrays. He worked with students, researchers, and visitors from different worlds. They asked questions. He asked them back. Sometimes at night he sat by the water and listened. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the waves in gold, Saris arrived. Her ship landed softly on the sand, leaving no marks behind. "You came," Eli said. Saris smiled. "I said I would." They walked along the shoreline, feet near the water's edge. The tide rolled in and out, slow and steady. "The accord is growing," Saris said. "More worlds are joining, more teams are training." Eli nodded. "Good," he said. "That means I'm doing my job right." Saris glanced at him. "You are doing your job by not doing it alone." They stopped near a cluster of smooth stones. The wind was gentle. The sky was clear. Saris looked at the horizon. Do you ever wish you had not gone into that storm? She asked. Eli thought about it. He thought about the reef, the wave, the word she had whispered. He shook his head. No, he said. I just wish I'd brought a better jacket. Saris laughed, a soft, bright sound. They sat down on the stones and watched the stars appear one by one. Eli felt the hum again, but this time it felt like a memory instead of a call. Do you think it will ever stop? He asked. Saris tilted her head. The universe, she asked. The listening, Eli said. Saris considered. I think it will change, she said. It always does. Eli nodded. I can live with that. A soft breeze passed over the water. The surface rippled, not from wind, but from something deeper. Eli felt it, not pressure, not weight, a whisper, not in words, not in sound, in feeling. He closed his eyes and smiled. Saris watched him. It spoke, she said. Eli nodded. Yeah, he said, but it didn't say much. Saris leaned closer. What did it say? Eli opened his eyes and looked at the stars. It said thank you, he said. And it said keep going. Saris's glow warmed. Far away across systems and worlds, teams from the Accord stood in strange places, near broken stars. Beside quiet planets, at the edges of things that did not yet have names, they did not fix everything. They did not solve every problem. They stood, they listened, they reached out. And slowly the universe learned something it had forgotten. It did not need heroes. It did not need rulers. It needed voices that answered when the silence grew too loud. On the quiet shore, Eli Carter skipped a small stone across the water. It bounced once, twice, 3 times, then sank. He stood up and brushed sand from his hands. Come on, he said to Saris. I'll show you the station. We just got a new telescope. It doesn't look for storms. Saris raised an eyebrow. What does it look for? Eli smiled. Places where people might be. They walked back toward the lights of the small station, their shadows stretching long behind them. Above, the stars watched, not as judges, not as masters.